Welcome back to Designing AI-driven Personalized and Adaptive Learning Environments course. In this video, we'll talk about what is Pedagogy module. This whole week, we'll talk about Pedagogy logic and PED module, PED logic, PED model, everything. We have seen what is domain model in a week 2, and we've seen the learner model, the BKDI in the last 2 weeks. The domain model talks about what are we teaching, what are the content we are teaching. We keep all the content about a particular topic, we download the content, we create the content, we organize the content in terms of this is a teaching material, these are the assessment, hints, feedback and everything. And we organize these contents to teach, okay. And also we have all about the learner, who are we teaching, who is the learner, learner's personal data, the grade, the age, gender, also their state of knowledge, because we are able to track their clickstream data. Using that, we can able to get the state of knowledge. Are they mastery oriented the skill is performed or not, and their preferences. They would prefer the video based data, they would prefer the mostly data based on the text, or they would need more examples. All those details has been captured, okay. But the system knows the student is struggling, student needs help, but what does system actually do about it? What are the recommendations a student can make it? Consider this, and can you pause this video for 2 minutes and think about, if we have know the students having which content to teach, all the content, possible content to have it. Also, you know what is the student's current states and what is student's preferences, what the system should do, or as a teacher what you would do. Pause this video, after writing, continue. So the system knows students struggling, so we have to make a decision how to intervene and when to intervene. So this is Pedagogy module. This week we talk about how and when to intervene in the PAD. I hope it is clear. PED module contains knowledge about teaching strategies to provide learning content based on learners' preferences and performance. Okay, these data are stored in the learner model. It is the knowledge about teaching strategies come from the learning science, and it uses data from a domain and learner model, and it takes the data from them and provides a content to the learner, the PED module. The key functions are foster and assessment. You have to provide support, fostering the support, assistance, and assessment from the assessing the knowledge. So first you have to understand students' current knowledge by using assessment, correct data, then you have to provide support. That is the key function. That's called a system called assessment is created. Assist from them, and assessment has been created by Neil FN and Christian FN. This is very interesting work, and if you're interested, go and check that one. So we know what is PED module now. Like PED module, it talks about how and when to intervene. Can you list down the impact of PED module on students' learning? The question I'm indirectly asking is, why we need PED module? Why we need a pedagogy module? If I have a pedagogy module, if a pedagogy module intervenes based on the student's need and when to intervene, what impact it would make? Can you think about these impacts and pause this video for a few seconds and write down these impacts, then continue. PED module actually reduces the cognitive load of the learner. By providing the detailed explanation when they are struggling, it reduces the cognitive needy learner. It's not say for all the learners, when it reduces for the students who needs explanation, that would support. And it actually resolves the gap in the student's current performance, and they want to achieve. Suppose student wants to achieve 80 marks in the score, but currently is not able to do well. It provides more content, more feedback, so that they could be able to achieve it, motivate them to go on higher level in effect. PED module can give the data, can give a supportive media, comments and everything. PED module also can avoid misconceptions. Okay, PED module also keeps the student engaged to the system. Instead of students dropping out when they are confused, when they are frustrated, they are not able to continue, they might drop out. Whereas PED module will try to keep them engaged. That is also important impact of PED module on the learning. This is very important. What is pedagogy logic in generally? It chooses the predefined actions. Most of the pedagogic is rule based. For example, if the student is struggling, give this particular answer. It works very well in the maths kind of topic where all the content is structured, and when a student is struggling, I need to give feedback on this particular content. What are the common pedagogy logics we have? We could provide a hint, that is nudge, or give a bottom out hint. In sense, give the answer directly. If the student is trying multiple hints, give a bottom out hint. The PED module can also demonstrate step-by-step solution. If students are struggling, we can say, hey, this step, this is the feedback. Let them go second step. Again, student needs help, give another feedback. The PED module can change the difficulty level, that is micro-adapting the current task to the easier or harder. That is possible. The current question is very easy, student is doing good, so give a more, tough questions. So student is struggling in a very difficult question, adapt it to the easier question. So that kind of changing the difficulty of the remedial content or the content or the assessment is possible. Or it can also scaffold, in the sense, takes a complete problem, make it into smaller steps, give first step, let them complete, then provide a feedback, go again, also possible. The PED module also can suggest the next topic based on the student's preferences and performance. That is, the micro adaptation is possible. The micro adaptation in the sense of changing the content, providing hint. Also, overall topic, you can give a next suggestion topic for the learner. That's micro adaptation is possible. Most of Pedagogic does all these things. There's a new concepts coming about self-regulated learning, where we say the PED module should allow for productive struggle. Don't intervene quickly. Don't try to jump in and provide support every time. Let the students struggle, then provide feedback. We'll talk about it in detail later. So that's also possible in Pedagogic. So all this Pedagogic is grounded in the learning science, in the sense scaffolding is say. It is like give a heavy support when the concept is new, when the student is new, then slowly pulling away those scaffolds so that the student can achieve mastery score. For example, here give a lot of detail when they're novice learners, when they are learning well, try again, just basic simple support. So the scaffolding also can possible. The scaffolding you would have seen in all the construction sites. If you go to any building construction, there was a scaffolding of the bamboo scaffolds, to raise the building. Once the building is being raised, the scaffolds are slowly pulled away. That's the analogy of the scaffolding in education. The scaffolding can be done in terms of hint fading. Give more hint initially, slowly hints is being faded. That's the one. The another support from the learning science is active recall. Pedagogy can say the students to make them to recall again by providing the content. When the student is forget the topic or the concepts, they can do the active recall. Also, pedagogy logic can be based on the learning science concept called spaced repetition. So PED logic is not that I want to give feedback, hey, let me give something, some random number. It should be based on some grounded learning science. So it can be scaffolding, infading, or any other learning theory you would come across, you want to use it. But most of the PED logic is rule based and written by the designers when they create a system. So if you think about simple PED logic, I wanted to go, if you think of simple PED logic, you can say that if the performance is less than 70%, give remedial content. You could say this. For example, you are conducting a test of 10 questions for the particular topic. The student is not able to go less than 70, give the remedial content. Or you could say that, hey, the student is performance is, performance is greater than 50 but less than 70%. I would say that identify why the particular topics are missing, which particular concept is missing, give a more content, or ask them to redo. If it is less than 50%, you might ask it to redo the content, do the learning. Okay, you have your own logic saying that if a student is not able to perform, I want to redo it and based on the feedback and do it. That's a very interesting PED module. These are the very basic PED module has been existing in the commercial systems. In a literature where we talk a lot about PED module can be based on infading and active recall, but that has been not happening in the commercial systems. So I want to talk about the difference in existing commercial system and the PED module in the literature. But with the advent of AI, the PED module also can be dynamically adapted and it can learn based on the mistakes. That we will discuss later. Thank you.